Electric Cafe.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Electric Cafe. In this video I wanted to share the new tracks from the new album from iNFO, and it's called Reflections of Past Technologies, and there's 10 tracks on here, and iNFO is an artist named Michael Robinson, who's from Sheffield, UK, and he also records under Facsimile, Hydra Machine, also Intergalactic Mechanic, and also his own name, Michael Robinson. And he's released music on quite a few net labels, and including some of the biggest ones he's recorded on is Touched Records, and also the old school Sheffield techno and bleep label Ozone Records. I'm sure that's a great feeling for him to be from that area, and then to release on one of probably my favorite techno and bleep labels from back in the day in UK and in Ozone Records. That's got to be a pretty cool feeling for him. But yeah, there's 10 tracks on here, and he does a brand of techno and electro. I'm sure there's some ambient music in there, some sci-fi themes and spacey music. So it's going to be probably right up my alley. But I'm interested to check it out. I've heard some Michael Robinson tracks before, certainly on this compilation, for example, and a few others over the past 6 or 7 years since from what I understand, he's been releasing music probably since about 2018, 2019, from what I kind of researched. And yeah, if you'd like to follow Michael Robinson or check more from his music, I'll put a couple links down below so you can check out more from him. And yeah, we're going to check out each track individually, and then I'll give you my score and my thoughts on each track, and we'll kind of move through the album. And yeah, there's 10 tracks on here, and this is Reflections of Past Technologies, and it's by an artist named iNFO, who goes under the artist's real name, Michael Robinson. So let's check out the first track. It's called Echo Initialize. Positively charged union, surrounded by a system of electrons kept together by attractive forces from the nucleus. The total negative charge of the electrons is equal to the positive charge of the nucleus. Further, the nucleus is assumed to be the seat of the essential part of the mass of the atom, and to have linear dimensions exceedingly small compared to the linear dimensions of the whole atom. The number of electrons in an atom is deduced to be approximately equal to half the atomic weight. Alright, so that was track number 1 called Echo Initialized, and then I also just let it play into track number 2 called Optical Interface. I didn't realize, you'll have to excuse me, I didn't realize that the first track was an intro. Normally I don't score, but I score intros that are like, 1 or 2 minutes, but it is a really cool intro. I really like the sci-fi theme to it. It's a good introduction, and I'm a big fan of intros like this. I always think they're really cool and set the kind of atmosphere that you're going to kind of go into it and delve into it. So I always like cool intros and outros. Optical Interface, really cool track. I really like the sounds, of course. I mean, they're right up my alley. I shouldn't say, of course, like that, but it's definitely right in line with what I like when it comes to like electro. The rhythm pattern is really cool. The layering is done really well. Like one melody is sort of mysterious, the other one's a little bit more Detroit melody. Good bass tones on the toms. I really like the tribal sounds in the rhythm, and I love when there's a balance of doing spacey themes or sort of sci-fi songs with more organic or tribal rhythms. It really like grounds the sci-fi theme into being a little bit more close to home or realistic, or it kind of brings you to more of a reality. Sometimes when things are overly spacey, it's kind of like, I wouldn't say it's like pie in the sky, but it's so futuristic, it's almost untouchable. But when the rhythms are a little bit more tribal and based sort of in a more organic feel, then it feels more realistic, and it feels like it feels almost like you're going to another planet, and there's still some feelings of sort of a primal Earth, or some sort of I wouldn't say like a just like a history of that planet was similar to our planet, or it's just kind of, it balances out the theme really well, and then audibly it just sounds great because you have generally you have like celestial sounds and kind of sweeping melodies, and then you have something that's very deep and organic and warm, and it's a little bit more tribal, and it's just kind of warmer rhythms. It just kind of harkens back to like the real roots of techno and house music and things like that. And it's a little bit more, again, grounded in sort of the lineage of techno music and stuff like that, which is kind of a more tribal and more I guess just more human sounds than really more of a rhythm that would be more futuristic. It's just kind of balances the two. I think all the great Detroit tracks have like a yin and yang, and whether it's in the rhythm or it's in the melody, like the layering here with the two melodies, there's always has to be a light and a dark, and sort of balance. That sort of, you don't know really which way it's going when you're listening to music. You don't know if it's gonna be a dark track. You don't know if it's gonna be an optimistic track or a beautiful track. Like there's always like this kind of uh, mystery in it, and it's kind of holding you in suspense on which way it's going to go, and which story it's going to tell. And I love that in techno music. It just kind of it runs right along the side of the themes of techno music, and just being so futuristic and story like for me as a listener.
The atoms of these elements are supposed to consist simply of a ring of a few electrons surrounding a positive nucleus of negligibly small dimensions. The ratios between the frequencies corresponding to the lines in question are compared with the ratios between the frequencies corresponding to different modes of vibration of the ring of electrons. corresponding to the ratios between the frequencies corresponding to different tones of vibration of the ring of electrons.
Alright, so that was track number 3 called Analog Soul. Great name for this track. I talk often a lot about the soul in machine music, and as a producer, putting that soul into the machine, making it feel more human. That's so important when it comes to like ambient techno and just techno in general, and also electro. It's so cool here. I love this kind of listening electro and techno. The snare has a good snap to it, and again, it's about that balance, right? You got the aggressive snare, but then everything else is on the more laid back tip. Certainly love the kind of chill out sound and nice pace on this particular song. The softer pads definitely remind me of B12 and the music Stephen Rudder did and Mike Golding. It was right up that alley in that classic ambient techno sound from the UK. Love the as far as like a really nice part on the. It's very small. It's very you got to really listen to it, and that's the great thing about listening in-depth music like this. That's where you can listen to certain things and kind of zone in and out of certain things, and really every particular sound that you can really. I feel like you can focus in on a little bit more because everything has good layering and good pace to it. But you hear that little hi-hat at the end of the rhythm. It's really cool. It's very has a great touch. I talk a lot about the funk and electro and techno sometimes, and it's really important when there's something in there, the rhythm that throws off. Again, that yin and yang, that balance of it being on sort of I wouldn't say it's propulsive, but it's moving forward, right? Like techno rhythm, but then there's something kind of holding back the machine, right? It feels like gears moving. Like I always think of like techno and electro and just electronic music in very visual themes. And a lot of times when I think of like the math in techno or the rhythms in techno, I think of them in like machines. So you have a gear going this way and you have a gear going this way, or maybe it's the same way, and they're sort of at different speeds, right? Like so, there's cycles. There's cycles of parts of the rhythm. Maybe the beat is going a little faster and the rhythm is going a little slower, and maybe it's sequencing and the layering and the melodies are sort of at different speeds, and it becomes sort of an anomaly, and you don't really know where it's going because the math is sort of slightly off, and so it creates something on its own because you're kind of programming it to be not on time, and so it creates something in its own way. Like all that is tied. What I think about when I think about some of the best rhythms and some of the best themes in electro and techno, and this kind of brings me back to one of my favorites. As far as B12, I mean, we're talking about elite ambient techno here in electro. So this track, is really strong, and I like it a touch better than optical interface. I give Analog Soul a 8.0, and this is the kind of track that I feel like, every time you start to hear it right at the beginning, it brings back the memories of listening to it. So I do feel like it will get even better as it gets more, more and more listens. And I did listen to it about 4 or 5 times because I liked it so much and kind of wanted to experience it a little bit more. I do wish it was like pushing maybe 6.5 minutes, but this particular pace, this is again a very B12 type as far as like right around 5 minutes. There wasn't a lot of times where B12 tracks went over like 6 minutes. They were all really around like 4 to 5.5 minutes. Alright, so that was track number 4 called Signal Decay. Some really good, interesting tones on this melody, and especially as the melody sort of works itself out, and the rhythm, sort of adds on to it and sort of attaches itself to the melody, and then it starts to begin and flow. It's certainly got a good playful Detroit melody. Again, really good layering of the multiple melodies. I like how the structure of the melody is sort of extends beyond the bars of the rhythm. So I guess if you had, like, I'm not a producer, so I don't know exactly the verbiage for this, but if you had like 2 bars and then the melody is like 6 bars, it feels like the melody is sort of overextending into the beat, and so it never really comes back on the one, if that makes sense, on the beginning of the beat. So it gives it sort of a more spacey flow to the track, and it's less predictable, which is great too as well. And as you're listening, so it's just kind of like, again, the great thing about this kind of like listening techno and electro, excuse me, is you can hone in on a particular sound and really get lost in that sound. It's great listening music, and excuse me, and again, really strong track. Very consistent album so far. I give Signal Decay 7 3/4 stars. And let's go on to track number 5 called The Machines Remember. I really like the names on these tracks too. They're perfectly in line with machine and man, and sort of that connection, and just that kind of sci-fi theme. Is really cool. But yeah, here's The Machines Remember. Alright, so that was track number 5 called The Machines Remember. Really like the gentleness of this particular track. A little bit more, I wouldn't say meandering, but it's definitely a little bit more sprawled out, a little bit over 6 minutes. The percussion is really key in this track for me. Just gives it a nice pace and a nice gentle kind of electronic touch inside the melody to sort of support the sort of theme of the song. It's a touch somber, a bit reflective, but really good stuff again. If there was any critique in there, I do wish there was another particular melody on top that sort of maybe was on top or maybe was a higher octave above and sort of kind of resolved itself or helped resolve the song at the end. Maybe just a little bit more poignant melody over the top would have been nice. Maybe just a little bit of addition right towards the end just to kind of bring it home, I think would have been a nice touch. Still a really strong track though. It's so far a very consistent album. I give that track 7.5 stars. Let's check out number 6, Static Transmission.
The frequency is a function of the energy. The frequency is a function of the energy. The frequency is a function of the energy. Is a function of the energy. The frequency is a function of the energy. Frequency is a function of the energy. The frequency is a function of the energy. frequency is a function of the energy. The frequency is a function of the energy.
Alright, so that was track number 6 called Static Transmission. Love the deep rolling bass line in here. It almost as it sort of morphs out as the song goes, it almost has like a growl to it, like it gets really deep. And the melody is a little bit more sweeping in this particular track, a little bit louder on this track. The vocal parts are cool. Another solid song. I give that track 7 stars out of 10. And let's go on to track number 7 called Subroutine Memory.
Unknown orbit. 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 Unknown order. Unknown order. Unknown order. Unknown order.
Alright, so that was track number 7 called Subroutine Memory. Really good bass line in here too. The album is certainly more chill than I thought it was going to be. I thought this album was going to be a little bit more electro, but you know I love ambient techno and electro, and this is definitely more towards ambient techno from what I feel. But there's certainly a lot of electro rhythms in here, but I'm really surprised how many are chill and sort of the rhythms are on the backside and not so upfront electro, which is, I think if I had to choose a favorite, I like it more like this when ambient techno and electro is kind of like in the same ballpark. It's cool because I like electro rhythms, but I love melodic things too. So it's just kind of the best combination of both, and it's right up my alley. A very consistent album again. I do feel like as we're getting into the later part of the album, I do feel like maybe a track in like 4 and 5. I'm not sure if it'll be like in 9 or 10, but maybe a little bit different track. I won't say a lot of these tracks sound similar, but it'd be nice like a track or an interlude in somewhere in between like track 5. Maybe track 1 could have been inside track 5 to just kind of, wouldn't say break up the monotony a little bit, but just kind of give yourself a break, because a lot of these tracks, like, you want to listen to them again and again and again, especially for me. And when you hear them in a row, I don't think they quite do them justice, because if you force yourself or you want to listen to them multiple times, they really branch out and you really start to enjoy them. When you hear a couple in a row, sometimes like 3, 4, 5 of them in a row, they start to blend with each other so much that you kind of don't get to enjoy really the intricacies in this particular music. So I do kind of wish there was a track in here in the middle to sort of break things up. Maybe a completely different sounding track, some kind of like intro, maybe a non-rhythmic track, something like totally, not maybe even slightly different or totally different, but just something to kind of throw you off and sort of reset your hearing or reset your palate for more of the great music that's going on. It's almost hard to take in this many good tracks in a row. And that's not really the fault on the producer, of course, but maybe just a different way to sort of sequence the tracks, or just kind of feel like, oh, these tracks are really good, but they're starting to sound a little similar. Let me try to inject something into the album to sort of break it up, and then sort of to complete. If you put like 4 of these tracks into an EP, it wouldn't really have that concern for me. But when you have like so many good ones in a row, it's you start to lose yourself a little bit, and maybe don't give the albums or the songs the repeat listens, because there's good track after good track after good track, where I would be totally okay if I got one of these tracks every week and I really enjoyed that track every week and then played the next one for a week. Like, it has that much listening enjoyment for me. But so when there's that many in a row, I feel like there could be, I'm almost getting too much good stuff at one time as far as like in that vein. So maybe something in there just kind of like break up would be good. But certainly another good track, Subroutine Memory, 7.5 stars. or 7 1/4 stars, excuse me. Let's go to track number 8, Coded Loop. Let's see how the album winds down with the last 3 tracks. Alright, so that was track number 8 called Coded Loop. Different sounding melody in this one, kind of what I hinted at earlier. Just I think this one really sticks out a little bit more in the melody. Much more scientific sounding, and certainly maybe a little bit more epic as well. This kind of feels like more of a lead track for the album, and sticks out a little bit more, I think, as well. The underlying sequence in the rhythm almost gives me sort of like Tangerine Dream type of feel in it, because it just continues to evolve through the entire track. Solid track. Um, One of my best, probably one of my top 3 or 4 so far. Coded Loop comes in at 7 3/4 stars, right around excellent, right there. And let's check out track number 9, Low Light IO. Alright, so that was Low Light IO. I really like the swirling melody behind. Love the rhythm switch up like halfway through. It allows a little bit more funk and a little bit more playfulness in the groove to happen. A bit more swing in the rhythm, I guess you could say. Love the metallic sounding or hollow sounding toms. There was a track earlier in this album that also had this sort of. It's almost hard to explain, and so I didn't say it because I didn't know how to really describe it. But it's often in the ambient techno, maybe sort of in that B12 sound where there's a sort of, I don't know if it's metallic sounding or if it's hollow or wood sounding, but it sounds more towards metallic sounding. It almost sounds like a barrel, like a hollow barrel, like you're sort of hitting like a drum, like an empty drum. It kind of has that metallic sound. I don't know if you can hear that, but it boom, 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 like that kind of sound is just really cool sounding. I really liked and there's a couple tracks in here that do that. Really cool sound. I really like the pace of this song, and then also again the changes in the rhythm halfway through. Really cool stuff. 7 3/4 too. Just all around very good stuff. Right on the point of being excellence, right there. But I think with more listens to again a few of these tracks, they would sort of squeak into the eights and be like an excellent track. There is a slight feeling though. I do wish some of these tracks would sort of take it up a notch and sort of again add like another accent or a melody, or maybe even be a little bit more aggressive in the rhythm. I feel like there's such a really good looseness in these rhythms that I feel like if there was a little bit more of a live feel to them, or sort of maybe taking the balance to the extreme, because you have such a laid back rhythm, you have a laid back melody, but then at the same time the rhythm is electro, so it's more on the one, but it's also laid back at the same time. There's such a looseness in the track. There's so many things you could do in the middle. I feel like as a producer that I do want a little bit more in some of the tracks to sort of make them a little bit aggressive, because there's so much laid back and looseness going on that there's some chances in there to really sort of accentuate maybe the rhythm, or maybe another additional melody, or maybe a sound effect in there. Sort of like how Michael is throwing in some vocals here and there, like some sort of sci-fi sounding samples of vocals that have been kind of put into different tracks. There's an opportunity there with doing that. I feel like you can do that a little bit more with rhythms and stuff in there. It's just such a great looseness in here. There could be some more exact moments where I feel like it could really embellish some certain sounds or what have you. That's probably my only critique as far as like what's feeling like it could be in additional. And I feel like some of those things would take the track into, for me, like a score of like 8.5 and things like that. Really, really kind of I wouldn't say putting the stamp on it, but really just taking it to the next level. Track number 10. Let's check out the last track. It's called Cache Memory Dream. All right, so that was the last track on the album. It was called Cache, Memory, and Dream. A really good track on here. Or to end the album, probably the most Detroit sounding. I really like how the melody is drawn out, and and again, kind of like what I mentioned earlier, because it's more drawn out, especially in the rhythm as well. It does give the opportunity for a little bit more sort of live percussion opportunity in the middle. And sure enough, this one kind of does that with the cool drum sounds in the middle, and it gives it more of a live feel. A little bit somber on here to kind of end the album in a nice kind of reflective way, and definitely runs a sci-fi theme through it all, and kind of a somber machine soul, which is so tied to some of my favorite ambient techno and electro stuff. Really good album. I want to thank Michael Robinson for letting me share the album here on my channel. If you'd like to support it or check out more of his music, definitely check the link below. If there's something that you'd like me to review in a future video, just send me an email. My email is also down below. And I'd love to hear what you'd like me to review for a future video. Again, thanks to Michael Robinson, and I want to thank you for the time. Hopefully you enjoyed the tracks. Curious to know your thoughts, or if you'd like to score the album below and the tracks with me in the comments section, feel free to. And we'll see you on the next video.